beat about the bush. Arsenal deserved to win tonight. It was what I grew up, they called a typical away European night. Didn't take too many risks and were barely troubled. We'll get into the few times they were, and David Raya came up trumps tonight, by the way. But I thought Arsenal were overall worthy of taking the win. Because the one thing about Sporting Lisbon tonight, and I do understand they're up against the more superior team, the one thing I'd say about Sporting Lisbon, it was a very terroristic, very stinky, very negative, very boring performance from them. They played a fantastic long ball up the other end of the pitch in the opening minute to Raya, and they nearly scored. And that was David Raya's first major moment, first big moment in the game. And it was a fantastic save. There is no doubt it was a fantastic save from him. And he deserves a lot of credit. But after that point, up until very late in the game, Sporting offered nothing. They could barely play it from the back. They couldn't really maintain possession. They had a couple of efforts later in the game that, again, were well saved by David Raya. Well, first one was saved. He spills it and then makes a very big second save for the ball. And it was those two moments, really. It's all they really had. Now, from an Arsenal perspective, the attacking wasn't good enough. Throughout the course of the game, my only real criticism of Arsenal, and I wrote it down. If only they scored from it, I wrote it down. I said, cross it. I said, cross the ball in big letters and like circle them. Because the one thing that I would say tonight about Arsenal, that if I was an Arsenal supporter that I would be frustrated about, if I was an Arsenal supporter that I'd be annoyed about, is the fact that there were so many opportunities to maybe cross the ball into the box early, play a quick through ball, even sometimes play a little bit of a blind ball just around the corner. They didn't do that enough. There was too many touches around the edge of the box. And when you're playing how Sporting were playing, when you're really negative, when you're playing park the bus football, when you're not being expansive, when there's when there's a fullback, when there's a winger, when the midfield is packed, sometimes what you really need is that kind of Bruno Fernandes-esque type player. Somebody that just picks the ball up, whips it into the box, one touch out of his foot. Ball on the outside, first time cross into the box. Because the goal tonight, and the goal in itself was lovely. Good play on the left-hand side by Martinelli. He drives in and just crosses the ball early. Basic football. Kai Havertz makes the run from deep, keeps himself on line. He gets the first touch. And I did think when he took his first touch, I thought, oh no, he's going to miss it. What's he going to do? But it was an excellent touch from him. Buries it into the bottom corner. But that goal, yes, it came through taking a bit of a risk and taking a man on, but it was still an early cross. What Trossard and Martinelli and Madueke were doing for large parts of the game, and what they would have done in that scenario, is maybe done a feint, done a shuffle, pretended the cross, cut back, passed the ball, and then Sporting would have got themselves set. But outside of that, look, I want to speak David Raya as well. As I mentioned already, David Raya tonight I thought was absolutely amazing. I thought David Raya this evening put in one of those legacy-defining performances. And when I say legacy-defining, I don't mean he's gained a full legacy after tonight's game, but it's one of those games. It's a huge Champions League away knockout game, and he came up trumps. He stood up, and in the 2 or 3 moments where he was needed, you saw why he's one of the best goalkeepers in Europe, and he deserves a hell of a lot of credit for that this evening. I thought overall, Arsenal defended very well, actually. I felt that Arsenal's defending tonight returned to its more cool, calm, collected, and assured approach. Yes, Sporting created opportunities. They had 2 big chances in the game. They had 11 shots. Vast majority were not particularly dangerous. But Arsenal, I think, against City became very scrappy. There was mistakes. I know one of them was from Kepa that wasn't in goal today. But especially against Southampton, those long balls over the tops, battling for those second balls, all the loose ends. They just weren't winning the race for the ball. They weren't clearing up the rubbish. They weren't clearing up the garbage. And tonight, it was just much more assured, much more Arsenal-like under Mikel Arteta. Very, very defensively sound. So with Raya pulling off his saves, that defensive stability, I thought Arsenal looked very comfortable. As I've already mentioned, the attack. And this, if I was, again, Mikel Arteta is telling them, because you see him doing it from the sides. It's just stop taking too many touches, cross the ball into the box early, catch a player out. If you watch the goal tonight, Mbappe scored. Now, I don't think anyone on Arsenal's team can cross like Trent, and they don't have Kylian Mbappe. But the principle remains the same. He whips in an early ball really, really, really early, really simply into the box for the man to meet at the back post. Noni Madueke did it once in the whole game, and Arsenal nearly scored, where he cuts inside, crosses it early, and Trossard nearly meets it at the back post. But if you're doing that, and this is the interesting thing with football fans, and maybe it's my view of the game, that if you've got someone who crosses that 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and first time it's cleared, second time cleared, third time keeper catches it, fourth time the striker should score but misses, fifth time it's slightly overhit. Maybe on the sixth attempt, you get there and you score, but it is a numbers game. And I know there's some football fans that look at Trents and KDBs and Brunos and just say they're just spamming the ball into the box. And it will be ironic to see the people that call that out who will be tonight saying, oh, Arsenal just got to get that ball into the box more, because it's true. It's a fundamentally important part of the game. But I think even more important for Arsenal tonight was the sort of the bounce back, as it were. Lost the Carabao Cup final, beaten by Southampton. They had to not get battered tonight. Maybe not lost, but when I say battered, I mean pulled apart, picked apart, ripped apart, looked vulnerable. I think, by and large, against a team on a 16-game winning streak at home and have won every single Champions League home game this year, on the backdrop of what's happened in the last 2 weeks, Arsenal should be proud of their performance tonight. Now, proud doesn't mean there's no room for improvement. Proud doesn't mean that you can't criticize particular areas. Proud doesn't mean you can't demand more. But equally, I think this will serve as a way of maybe stemming the tide on the level of negativity, frustration, and anger. It is now 1 foot very, very firmly in the Champions League semi-final. We don't know if that will be Barcelona or Atletico Madrid. I would fancy Arsenal from this stage to go on and knock Sporting out. You could tell what Sporting were trying to do tonight, and it was very much an approach of, I think it was very much an approach of sitting deep. Maybe if we get the chance to counter, we will. Last 10 minutes of the game, let's turn the pressure up. We've seen teams this season get some results against Arsenal doing that. Wolves did it. I was thinking more, what are they called? Sunderland, earlier on in the season. That was the attempt. At the Emirates, it's going to be a real interesting one. I still think they'll have a very similar approach at the Emirates. I think in the first half, they might just sit in Sporting and see if Arsenal attack them. And if I was Arsenal at the Emirates next week, I'd play with authority like they did tonight, but I'd still play within yourselves a little bit. I wouldn't leave too much space in behind. I'd invite them out and play into the space and reserve yourselves as you're going for two big competitions. As are they. They are trying to win their league title as well, no doubt. But overall, a very, very good night for Arsenal tonight. I think they demonstrated a strong mentality after everything that has gone on, the pressure that was building up. And dare I say it, maybe we have to look at it now. This is what maybe we've all got. I'm looking at Brandon here. Maybe when you're having a bad day at work, Brandon, I'm going to start doing it too. We just walk around the office, we hold our pens, we walk around and we sort of make sure that we're okay. Because I think walking around holding pens and balancing the ball on your head, it paid off. It paid off, right? Get your pens out. What's mightier, the striker or the pen? The pen or the sword? The pen won tonight. I am kind of glad Arsenal won, just because I don't know if I could stomach listening to podcasts where people start speaking about pens on a serious level. I mean, it would have been an absolute crazy one. But as ever, look, I want to get your views. I want to get your opinions and your thoughts on this. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we are going to see you all again. What am I doing here? I've pressed... where am I streaming this to? Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't press record on something. I pressed stream. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to keep it running as it is. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. But yeah, make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing, make sure you're sharing this across your social media platform for us as well, please, people. And the only reason I say it like that is because I've pressed the wrong button on here. But